Hello, good afternoon, good morning to everybody. This is Michael. I'm calling or reaching out to all of you who have been considering a LDR or long distance relationship with somebody from another country. In the past, I've voiced my experience and how it turned out not so good. Because there was a lot of things I didn't know and then found out as I kind of went. Unfortunately, I did it that way and I should have done it the other way. And there was a lot of different things that so many had said after I got involved and kind of got pulled in, by a charming smile. Come to find that this particular person, although professed almost poverty, eating very little, etc., is now dressing up and looking almost like a floozy or some kind of what we would call here a drag queen, almost heavy makeup, just really painting herself up, most likely just to pose and pull somebody else in like a siren's call. One of my experiences by watching some of the people that are, telling about cultural differences was the Phiapina P, and she gave me an analogy that was really kind of quite cool, and I know that some people do that here, and this is how she compared it. I'm not going to be able to quote it exactly, but this is how it was said. Is that a gentleman bought a large screen TV and brought it home, and on his way upstairs he so happened to drop it, and it was cracked and most likely shattered on the inside of the box. However, the box wasn't hurt or damaged, but the content would have been. And he went and took it back to the store, and they exchanged it for a new one. And even she said, Phiapina P, that how wrong was that, to do something like that. But the person felt as if, this particular company was such a large company that it wouldn't hurt so bad for them just to exchange it. However, principally it would have been wrong to do that. It's just, you could have used your homeowner's insurance or your renter's insurance and took care of it that way. However, there would probably be a deductible or a cost factor, and they just did it that way. So she compared that to how some of the people from the Philippines might feel about that when they are scamming or working on somebody that's in the United States. Like, we can afford it, to take a hit. Like, we got it like that. Wouldn't hurt us all that much. So comparing us to a large company that would not, it wouldn't hurt so bad if they just took back an item and exchanged it for another. They look at us like it wouldn't hurt so bad if we sent a monetary or small amounts of money to them, But to me, and I think to a lot of Western men, wrong is wrong and right is right, and you can go about it either way. You make your choice what you want to do. But if you're a good Christian person, you know that the right thing to have done was to just admit that you made a mistake, and you pay whatever you have to pay, and you have your insurance cover that, even though it's going to cost you a little bit of money. So there was things like that always just made my ears go up. But we're learning, or I'm learning anyway, about other cultures and maybe how they feel about us and how we can so easily afford some losses, etc. But there's a lot of emotional damage that's involved with an LDR. If you get wrapped into something and you have feelings for somebody and then you discover that they're not as honest as you would want them to be, or if you see real red flags, there's another one. When you see the red flags and you want to discuss it with them and ask them about it, they go into this tampo stage. Well, and at first I thought that was respectful. In other words, don't say something you might regret, so you just be silent. And I think that's a good way of going about things, but you always have to come back to the table and discuss something like that if it's concerning you. But in my particular relationship, when those red flags came about and that tampo come about, it was always, am I okay? Well, I never was. I just couldn't discuss it because she just wasn't open for this. The matter wasn't open for discussion. It was just, it's going to be this way or that way, and are you okay to continue this relationship and or conversation? So I just kind of gave in and I conceded, and regretfully so. But there was a lot of things that were said. There was another analogy that was given, or that I come to find, is that on a lot of these sites that they have there, you see a lot of women that state that they're separated. So, and there is no divorce in the Philippines. So separated just means that they're just not with their spouse under the same roof at that time. So the only option you would have is, if you were in a relationship with someone like that, is to go there and just kind of shack up, and whatever funds that you would put out or monies that you would put out towards that relationship could be lost to you, and or any property or anything that you bought together would actually belong to the original husband. So there's a lot of risk factors, and I think sometimes we just don't realize how much of that is going on, and how we've become, as a two different cultures, or two different countries, that they just seem that we're the magic pill, that you can your life can change if you get with somebody. But here's the deal. I want to talk a little bit about American men and what they expect in a woman or a spouse. Is you want loyalty and honesty and good communication, and without it, any relationship's going to fail. But if you have a man that is faithful and loyal and loving and has a little talent and wants to have a life together with a partner, he would expect that his wife or his significant other would be at his side and work with him, and they would build together. And that would be something that they would build for themselves, each other. There's a lot of talk that if you do get with somebody from another country, especially one like that, when you marry the woman, you marry the family. And that's understood, because we have in-laws here as well, but you're not expected to take care of them. You're just related, or the bond is there. However, in that country, you're kind of obligated, if you have the resources to do so, to pay for the whole family. I mean cousins, mothers, fathers, uncles, aunts, and you really don't know, if you're providing for those, and it's really crazy that you would, that somebody would think that would be your responsibility as a husband, to take care of somebody else's family instead of just each other. I get excited when I hear that if you want a Philippine woman who values commitment and they're loyal, etc. You don't want to find out in the end that you've got a woman that is sneaking off and saving her money instead of it's our money to send it back home. And then to hide that from you because you might not like it. You know, it's one thing to send gifts, but another thing to have to support another household or somebody back in another country if they were to come live with you. So that there wouldn't be any cultural shock. You know, Western men want a teammate. They want somebody that's on their team, not somebody that's on their team but really on another team. And if that's the case, you better kind of do your homework and know what you're getting into, or to have that discussion before you get too involved. I think it would also too behoove the country people that when you see on either Facebook or some of these sites, neighbors, friends, relatives, whatever, that are out for the hustle, that you may catch one. You may get, you know, 1 or 2 or 10 or 20 or hundreds of guys that are going to find that you're as attractive as you are, and that you seem to have a sweet spirit. But if you're out to gain monetary things and not to really have a good, honest and loving, faithful person in your life, then that's going to backfire on you. And what it does too is, because in your country, if it is a country of tourism and that you and everyone else there depends on tourists to come there, you hear a lot of negative things, you know, like watch your pockets, beware of pickpockets, beware of thieves, etc., etc. And I don't know that anyone would want to travel 24 hours on an airplane to go somewhere and then have to be weaving and dodging, and especially if you're involved with a woman that you're not certain if she's married, separated, involved with somebody else, and then you're just kind of in a place that you would find very uncomfortable in the long run. So the reason why I'm talking about all this is because there's a lot of other things. Now these things would, in this country, would cause divorce and or separation. You couldn't, a Filipino woman couldn't pull a tampo type of thing. But Filipina P even said this, which I thought was just crazy. But she said that there's a lot of half-truths that are said to the partner, such as, I'll give you for an example, and she gave this one, I believe. It's like, say your partner says, I'm going to the market, I'm going to go buy some fish today and get some other staples for the house. If she, by chance, was to run into an ex-boyfriend, I guess there wouldn't be an ex-husband, but even a separated husband, then, if you so chose to get with her in spite of her marital status, if she were to run into that person and they were to go across the street and have a sandwich or an ice cream, if she were to return home a little late, she wouldn't tell you that her being gone a little bit longer was because of this or that, you know, or that she went and had an ice cream or a sandwich with her boyfriend or husband. What it would tell you is, or what she would tell you, is just a half-truth. What I mean by half-truth is that she's not going to include that she did that. So, American men, if you did that, if I went and had an ice cream with an ex-wife, but said I was going to go get an auto part or some groceries, but I went and had lunch with my ex-wife or my ex-girlfriend, that would cause a divorce in this country. And there'd be, like Ricky and Lucy, he'd say, Lucy, you've got a lot of splaining to do. You see, but if women in that culture just hide behind what they call tampo, which is mean I'm not going to discuss that with you, or they realize that you're extremely upset about it, but they don't want to discuss it with you, and they feel like they have the liberty to do that. In our country, in the United States, those are the things that cause divorce here. Now, although it's allowed divorce in our country, it's not something that you would assume that you're going to wind up in, is a divorce, because of those types of half-truths or white lies, whatever you want to call them, or not just telling the whole story, you know. So that's not a very attractive person, you know. She can be pretty as all get out, but if she's gonna treat you like that and then expect you to take care of her for the rest of her life, and maybe even her family or others that she would love and feel a sense of responsibility to, those are things that would just shut it down, you know. So when I hear advertisements from these other sites where they totally screen the people that are looking for Western husbands, I would assume that they're checking all the background of these persons, making certain that they have what is called, I believe it's a certificate of non-marriage, Salamar, I think it's called. They have to have all that, so that you're not going to get into it, so far into it, that you could be scammed or hustled, or, you know, or they're going to tell you how poor they are, how hungry they are, how bad they got it. And in my case, that particular person that was making all those claims has since just weeks ago bought property, paints herself up, and just poses like she's getting ready to put a selfie on another site to advertise, you know, that she's looking for a man. And I'm sure that they all are, as I'm looking for a good wife, you know, but not one that would leave my side or that would tell me stories, because there is trouble coming after that, you know. You don't go out with other men to have lunch that you've had relationships with, and then just don't enclose that information to your